and opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the host/guest and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any of BXR entities and those they represent.
What's up, people? I left my phone at home, so I can't share out the show. So if you're watching, please share out the show. Please tell a friend. Please subscribe. Please donate. Please be a guest. Today, we're waiting on Bleu to come. It didn't say that. No. Copy link address. Share it. Let me send one I sent to him. Just a second, people. We're waiting on an individual. Oh, man. So we have Bleu will be joining us shortly, and then we have another guest joining us. He is one of the actors from the You Thought I Was Him play that I've been working on for the last year. He'll be joining us shortly. Noah Silas is his name. He's been on here a couple times before. This past week, I am really trying hard to show up. Not that it was a problem before, but I had taken myself out of a space of going out and doing a lot of stuff. One, we are and was in a very bad pandemic, and it wasn't really safe to be out all the time at all at one point. And I'm trying hard to just get reacclimated to attending events and going out to workshops and seeing plays. And I did that. I sprinkled that as we begin to come out of the lockdown portion of the pandemic. And I went back to in-person working. However, this part, the radio, the podcast that I do is still virtual. I like that component. But I'm just getting myself back in the space of being around people. GoDaddy, organization that I didn't work for, but I had taken some classes with. They were offering some entrepreneurship kind of professional development classes, and I took part in them. And on this past Thursday, I believe, or was it Wednesday? Wednesday, they had this huge expo at the Parkway Theater at North and Charles, and it was a lot of people there. I have not been to something that big in the pandemic, since the pandemic. But it's very interesting. They had a number of workshops. Mayor Brandon Scott stopped by for the last portion of it and did a conversation for entrepreneurs and artists and initiatives that the city is currently taking to help. What's the meeting ID, Monty? Can you text it to me? So yeah, it was a number of workshops and stuff like that. and just a lot of networking with other artists and entrepreneurs. Some I'm very familiar with. And it was great to see people come out to events. One of the things that I want to say is just because, so GoDaddy is this huge conglomerate organization. Um, I don't want people just to come out when it's a GoDaddy type of name on it. There are a lot of great um, organizations and individuals and companies doing a lot of great work within our community um, that is just as great as GoDaddy. GoDaddy has an initiative, and I'm not bad mouthing them because I've taken part in a lot of their programming, but there's a lot of programming going on in our city that is also great, that is also worth your while. So please stop coming out of this stuff that is just corporately sponsored. Because typically, when corporations do big outreach projects like this, no matter how great it is for the community, they still have an initiative, intention. I said initiative, intention behind doing that, and I'm sure, GoDaddy is looking down the line and seeing that people do need websites. They've given out several websites um, on their brand. Um, I got mine, and all the services are free for 2 years, and that's a great initiative. But a lot of it is, you know, after the 2 years is over, they're making it so you're gonna need them. So what a better way to keep a customer than to continue to treat them and do great things for their community. So just know that there are a lot of other programming all the other days of the year, not just on certain days, all the days of the year of other programmings like the Black to the Future event that happens every month. I'm a partner in that initiative, and not just because I'm a partner in it, but I know my intention behind starting it, and it really was to help entrepreneurs out in a way that we don't typically get the wrap around services. Now, GoDaddy and organizations like GoDaddy can do a lot of great work in our community, and I'm excited that they are joining forces with many of our organizations to bring better work. Turn your phone around, Noah. Turn your phone around. Can you hear? I think his thing is frozen. But I'm really just excited about all the new things that are going on in the city, around the city, for the city. But just be mindful of the things that you do log in with and support and um, put your name in association with when you're not doing that for the programming that's here all year long, or for your actual residents that are doing and creating pathways and opportunities for us as artists and entrepreneurs to grow and achieve. I just don't want us to overlook our own in the pursuit of money or extra dollars, so on and so forth. So, but beyond that, it was really great. I've been seeing how this community is working, and I see a lot of people making a concerted effort to work together, to support other people, to show up for other people, and not just friends with their community. But there's still a ways for us to go because there's still people who find comfort and safety in a clique. Um, and there's some not so positive things going on amongst those clique members. And it's stuff that, I gotta get out of my system. I've learned not to, because I've had a bad experience with someone or something. I don't go straight to my social media anymore. And I really don't share it with many people other than if it's like a close friend or something. But beyond that, I've learned not to do that. Today's topic is getting out of your own way, and part of me analyzing my habits and the things that I do is helping me to get out of my own way in terms of being an entrepreneur and an artist and just across the board. And I see the ladies have joined us. I mean, Blue and um, Blue has joined us.
Yeah.
I'm really nervous about this lady on the wall, but I'm gonna welcome both of them in. If you can bring Noah, Silas.
Oh no, I wasn't prepared for this.
I know that's why I didn't tell you. And Blue Waters, aka the Kitty Cat. If
Mhm.
you can bring them in.
I'm not. Oh, I'm not in yet.
I can hear you.
You can. Oh, ooh, ooh.
How y'all
Oh,
doing?
I'm fine. It's just me. I don't see
Unmute
the.
yourself, Noah.
He's not
Hey,
here. Oh,
How
you
y'all
are.
doing?
wait a minute. What happened? Y'all both talked at the same time. Hi, both of y'all.
It was too
Hi,
much
Nick.
for him. It was too much for
It
him, Blue.
was. I had to take a moment to collect myself. I had to get out my own way.
His
Mm.
anxiousness was flaring up, Blue.
Is that what that was?
That's what we gonna call it.
Oh, because I'm about to say there's ointments for that.
So how are you fellas doing?
I'm good. Hi, Noah.
Hey, how you doing, Blue?
How are you?
You know, same shit, different day.
Is that so? It's been a long time.
It ain't been that goddamn long.
Oh my goodness. How many years has it been?
Wow. I feel
But
the
the
same way sometimes, Blue.
You feel the same way?
I do. He
Okay.
be off there adventuring with his others, and he don't
Mm.
have time for the us's sometimes. But it's cool. It's cool.
yes.
So if you have not realized it, or if you have been unaware of me spamming you on social media, I've been talking about You Thought I Was Him project for a year now. And both Blue and Noah are a part of this process. Noah is actually one of the cast members of the play. He plays Kevin Sr. He's somebody's daddy in this production. So you're playing people's fathers now, so that's another level. I mean,
I
you
That's
got
get
a,
old.
so
Um,
when
Go ahead.
Nate, when you said that he was playing somebody's daddy, I took that in a whole different light. I was about to say,
Mm,
what type of play is this?
you gotta come see. It might surprise you. It just might surprise you. So, so for both of you, I'm gonna start with Noah because Noah has come on in like the second phase of this project, whereas we were moving out of the writers' room and the workshops and the community conversations into the workshop portion of it, where we were building the script, building on the script that we have, and now we're in the rehearsal project process, and we're less than 20 days away from said production. So how are you feeling being a part of this production, Noah?
Well, I'm very excited to be working with Troy Burton and yourself and Tracy. You know, y'all have seen me grow up, and I've seen you guys around my entire life in the art scene. So to actually be working with y'all actually is a privilege. And my first time doing a theater show that is a new work like this. You know, I've worked with playwrights before, and they
Mm-hmm.
do show, but usually it's past the workshop phase. They've already done it in a small town, and now they're
Mm-hmm.
ready to shop the script. So this is the first time where I've been a part of a project where the script is brand new and it's still being workshop, and the director and Troy has given us a lot of leeway through character development to you know bring more foundation to the script. So it's really it's a great learning experience, and it's great to work with such Baltimore legends.
Mm. So you all are it definitely is a different process Being in a theater company myself, I got the chance to work with some original pieces, some first time pieces, and it is a difference coming in on a project that's already been developed and you're just workshopping it. We did that with Susie Lloyd Park 365 plays. So I got to see it from that perspective. And then, like you said, typically we're working with like an August Wilson piece or Shakespeare piece where it's something that's been done and we just doing it our own way this time. It's definitely a different experience. And it's very interesting seeing you all, I won't say hesitate because you're used to the latter. Um, try to find yourselves in this work. But Blue was on the piece as we were doing the community conversation portion of it, like the end of the first phase of the project, where we brought in a number of men that we were in this room, this safe space, having the conversations that you all are now getting like the bullet points for, and the words, some of the verbiage that is being used in this came directly from that room. Blue will be one of the people that we asked to come to one of our preview shows, so he'll be able to see a lot of those conversations manifested in you all as actors. So, Blue, tell me about your experience being in a community um, conversation portion of this production.
Well, when I got with Troy and yourself, we had the conversation and he was telling me what his vision was. I thought that it was a wonderful idea to have individuals that he wanted represented to hear their actual voices.
Right.
And so community conversation was really, I enjoyed it. It was amazing. It needs to happen more. I think that the individuals that participated needed that space to talk. They needed their stories to be heard and to actually see it come to life. I think that would be really, that's what I'm looking forward to. The characters that develop as a result of that conversation, I would like to see them come to life. I think I was preparing for this conversation because the actors that you selected, I wanted to see how they aligned with the characters that they were actually playing. So to see if there was some common themes, if the character was if similar to who they were, if it was a stretch for them, if it was difficult, it was even difficult for them to even tackle the piece. How I'm interested to know that aspect of it. And so I was looking forward to this conversation. I'm looking forward to the conversation with every last one of them because that's the one question I want to see is how does this, how do you relate to the individual that you're playing?
That's a good question.
So Noah,
he's a daddy in real life.
So Kevin Senior is from division and Islamic ways, and that's where I grew up. So it's a lot of a little West Side little quirks that he has, and that I'm adding to him. So that is the element that we have in common. And he's a teacher. I used to teach theater, blah blah blah. But but minus those few things, Blue. Kevin is a stretch for me. He's a married man. He has a kid. He's a basketball coach, and he's the community father. One little note about the character when we first started working, like the relationship between Kevin Senior and Kevin Junior is like he is the community father. All the young men and young people come to him for advice and to spend time, and he's given so much time to the community that he's lacking that quality time with his son. So that was a very interesting aspect of their relationship. But yeah, it was definitely a stretch for me. Definitely playing an older dude, just what it really means, what it looks like, what it feels like to be that that dude that everybody looks up to, that everybody goes to. And I'm very, very excited to see this because I think the writers did a really good job just as far as the continuity between the character relationship. Because even though I'm established as this community father figure, I'm still reaching out to a character named Uncle Brother. I'm still reaching out to him for advice. That's my mentor. So it's just interesting to see the dynamics of these real life human beings.
It's very interesting to see this piece kind of transition to the next thing, because I just came out of the writer's room and I was in there most of the days that they were, well, all the days that they were in there, and seeing them kind of brainstorm and coming up with ideas and going backwards even further to the community conversations where a lot of their notes were given to even the writers from that process. And then even before that, myself, Bleu, DDM, and Troy Burton, the producer and director of this project, having a conversation amongst ourselves about accountability amongst Black men, same thinking, same, type of men. And not really the same in all ways, but we overlap in ways. So a lot of those conversations carried on into the community conversations, then to the writer's room, and now into the rehearsal room. I would challenge anybody who is a creative to think about trying it at least once this way. This piece has been very much so connected to the community and really community first. Even in all aspects of it, the people we chose to be in all the various rooms that we've had, even the podcast series that came out of this. It's been very interesting to watch you all, especially as actors, grow in this piece. And I really can't wait for people to see it. Doing something for the first time is very scary. Do you have any fear or, butterflies in that way?
Not any different that I would feel from doing an already established show. It's the normal fears of, will the audience get it? Is the direction well? Am I doing all that I'm doing? Am I really believing in my character? So just those normal nerves. But no, I mean, I feel like regardless of me acting in it, I felt the piece itself was very strong. So even if folks didn't see it up on its feet, if they just read it as a book, it would still change lives. It would still make an impact because it has a good foundation. So I'm not nervous about it being new. I really think it's very important. I think the message needs to get out there. I'm just nervous, that am I capable to rise to the mantle that is being set?
That's an interesting question.
Can you rise to the mantle? I mean, do you feel as though you've risen to the mantle, or do you feel that there's areas that you need to work on?
It's
so looking at you, I could see a daddy figure. I mean, I don't see that as a stretch. I mean, outside of the fact that you may not have any children, but I mean, basketball, sports, and things of that nature, I think that you could align with that. There's some commonalities there. I don't know. Are there or not?
I mean, just the complexities and the nuances that makes human beings who they are. I don't think that Kevin and I align in as far as our ideologies and what our hopes and dreams are, who we are when there's nobody else around. I think we're different in that aspect. So trying to find truth in that brings truth in who he is when he's around everybody else. So that's the stretch for me.
Okay.
Has there been any tough moments for you in learning who Kevin is and further developing that character?
Yeah, I'm still trying to find his voice. Still trying to find his own, not trying to be like the stereotypical TV Black actor playing the 40-year-old fathers. I gotta put on the deep voice all the time, but just trying to find again, trying to find that tone, like his right tone that will help establish who he is. That even to paint that complete picture, audio, visual, and for the audience. I wanted to match. I know I can look like a dad because I have the bags and the beard, and I'm big, so I can have that size. But I'm very particularly interested in how a school teacher, a second grade school teacher who sits on Vision and Islamic Way off of Pennsylvania Avenue. So that's a very interesting sound. I'm still.
You've walked each one of those journeys before, minus maybe second grade a little bit, but you walked in those paths before. So it wasn't a stretch to think about what that would sound like or look like. And even you just mentioned being a 40-year-old dad, even that looks different than it may have when, well, Blue is much older than 40. Let's just put that out there. But thinking about what that sounds like, and a 40-year-old that we thought was 40 is not necessarily what it is today, or the only thing it is today. So really putting your own self in it. Um, are you staying away from adding too much of you in it, or was that a given to do that?
That's me as an actor for everything. I always stay clear of trying to put too much of myself in it, only for safety reasons. So when I'm finished with the character, and this is mostly for like other characters that I've played that are really dark or have some internal conflict, when I'm finished with the play, that process where I'm letting that character go, I found early in my career, if I have too much of me in it, it's like aspects that can get caught up in my regular life. So just for safety reasons, always like reasons and practice reasons, always try to keep as little as me of the character out as possible.
How is it working with Troy again?
How's that process working with Troy, or just
I mean, you've done it when you were younger, but how is it now being an adult working with Troy?
I've never worked with Troy. This is my first time working with Troy.
Okay, I thought it maybe in a youth theater that you worked with him.
I
So
wrote
how's
with
your first
Robert.
time?
I did youth theater with Robert Chu.
Okay.
This is very, again, it's a privilege. And every director is different. So I always just kind of save room. I kind of leave the expectations at the door and accept what is to come. Because I feel like if I have an expectation of, oh, well, I've been working with this type of director, and if I work with the director who doesn't match that, then automatically I'm creating conflict. But it's fun. He's definitely a musical heavy director. He kind of reminds me of like a film director in the edit room when you're adding the score to your film. Music is so important to help tell a story when it comes to visual stuff like a video or film. So to see a theater director who's taken that importance and putting it into theater, it's the Nigga Show is one of my favorite shows because of the acting, because of the story, but the music from beginning to end helped to amplify what they were saying. So I am so excited to work with somebody who understands that, because usually directors is like, okay, we're blocking, we're doing character development, and music is like maybe one of the few last things. Maybe tech week is when you'll hear a song or hear the transition music, but we've been hearing music the whole process, and it's setting the tone that is helping me find the rhythm of the show.
Blue, you got any questions? Or?
Well, no. I mean, well, aside from, I do. So I saw that there was, I saw some snippets of the rehearsals. So I saw some movement. Is there going to be a lot of dancing, a lot of dance incorporated? How was that for you? Is that something that is, was that difficult for you? Do you have two left feet? Are you got a lot of rhythm? You got a lot of, shake, boom, chakalaka in your hips? What am I going to be saying when I come?
According, according to Miss Jiggets, I need to work on my pelvic, my hip movement. It's a little movement that we got to do to be sexy with the hips. Apparently I need more hip practice. I've been a big dude my whole life. I went to Baltimore School for the Arts, for high school, for theater. And I was the only big guy in my class. And from what I can remember from my freshman year to when I left, I was the only big person in that program, in the theater. And it was very rigorous physical training. And from that time up to now, I always have to make sure that even if I'm maintaining this physical figure, the gut, the man boobs, the flabby arms, I still need to be able to move and do whatever my choreographer and director asks. So yes, I haven't done musical theater or a show that required me to do any dancing in a while, Blue. So it took a little bit to get that rhythm back, but no, it wasn't hard. I don't feel out of place. Tracy Jiggets is an amazing choreographer. She's really being patient and kind and taking us through the steps. I've worked with choreographers that are real assholes. Like, I'm getting moved and that's it. Got it, and you do it. So the fact that she recognizes where we are and is bringing speaks loads about her. But yeah, so I feel great. And when you come and see it, I'm gonna be sexy. I'm gonna be pelvic thrusting, and y'all gonna love it.
All right. Oh, hi, Sharon. Guess it's Blue.
Sharon. That's Sharon.
I'm sorry. Hi.
Just some housekeeping notices that I want to make sure people are aware of. One, this show opens up on November the 11th at Arena Playhouse, 801 McCullough Street. Please come on by. We have 3 weekends. It runs from the 11th to the 27th of November, so you have ample time to be able to come see this Monday, Saturday, I say Monday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I want to mention that this production is a collaboration between the Arena Playhouse and Troy Burton's creative consulting company. The characters and stories were developed out of a series of, as I said before, the community conversations, as well as our podcast, as well as our writer's room. The script was written by a collection of phenomenal Baltimore artists, Easy Jackson, Jackie Terry, Sheila Gaskins, Tracy Jiggets, Troy Burton, Derek Watkins, a phenomenal group. Did I get everybody? And we have a couple contributing writers as well. The production focuses on the journey of Kevin, a 17-year-old Black male. There are also some micro stories within the production of the Black men that are in Kevin's life, family and friends alike, that help shape his direction. This story is a great story that came out of a real nigga show. You Thought I Was Him was a short film done in collaboration with Troy Burton, Bashi Rose, and Center Stage. It was a project that they were doing, and it kind of tells the story of the moment we were in, not directly tells the story of Trayvon Martin. Not Trayvon Martin. What was the young man here?
Freddie Gray.
Freddie Gray. And it was really inspired by that moment. And just realizing, especially as Black men, our stories are normally usurped by everybody else, and our stories are normally told from the perspective of everybody else. Even though in this production we had Tracy Jiggets, Mama Jackie, and Mama Philip Gaskins that wrote really powerful moments. It was really all three of those women have a real strong connection to the Black men in their lives and the Black men in their communities. So Uh, I'm really excited to uh, be a part of this project that is really amplifying the male perspective, the male story, the male point of view. And both Noah and his cast members and Blue and the other community conversation members, along with the writers' room, along with the podcast series, have all contributed to the morsels that are going to make up the deliciousness of this production. And it's going to be moments where you're going to shed a tear. You're going to definitely see people that you know, like Noah said, that's that Pennsylvania Avenue corridor. That space is very familiar to many people. Even if you did not live in that area, is the history that that area has in terms of not only the famous celebrities that walk through that streets at times, but just the families that are still there. We heard about Cab Calloway's family that is such an integral part of that neighborhood, and many other people who just made up the backstory of this production. It was so much stuff, not even it was so much stuff that couldn't even fit into the story, and it was very, my stomach was turning trying to figure out how they would get all of that in this. But Sharon is going off in the comment section. But it really is just a poignant story of the males perspective from various points of view. Is there anything that you want people to walk away with from this story? Sure.
I'm gonna give a quick answer now, but the next podcast that we do, or the closer we get to the show, I'll definitely have a more sound answer. But I definitely want them to walk away with, what does family mean to them, and just to be transparent, mine is my immediate family, like my mother, my stepmother, my sister, few cousins. I'm not necessarily that close with family. So this piece, everybody is related, and it is Black men, a Black family unit of men that are growing and learning together and going through not only the trials of life, the trials of being a fucking Baltimorean. So I definitely want people to walk away from this play, regardless if you have a good family dynamic or not. Like, what does family mean to you, and what can you do? What could you do for your family? What is your family doing for you? Blah blah blah. Just questioning the whole what family means to them. So that's my quick answer. I'll have a better one for you in a couple of weeks.
And we'll be having a talk back that first weekend with a couple special guests. So definitely come out, get your tickets. Opening night is going to be a splash. Troy doesn't do anything small. And he's been talking about pulling back, but he's not. So opening weekend will definitely be great. I believe the talkback will be on that Sunday. So come back, come back each week. And I just saw in the comment section, Sharon. So there is a fundraising component to this, where your organization, whether you're a nonprofit or not, if you have a group of family or you have a social group, friend, you can definitely sponsor a block of tickets to help us push and fill these seats up each day of the show. I believe it's 9 performances that we have. So you can get a block of tickets and you'll be listed as a sponsor, and you'll get some special perks from the theater as well. But Sharon Nixon has jumped on board for the Fashion Umbrella, and they'll be coming out. So come on, we're gonna get her date out there soon. We have a number of other shows that the cast members and the production team will be doing in the next couple weeks. So if you have a show, if you have a brand, if you have a podcast, definitely welcome us on. You can send us an email at you thought I was him, the letter you thought I was him at gmail.com, or you can call me directly at 443-839-0118 and book us for your platform. What is a talkback? A talkback is so after a show, typically we get like a panel of people to come up and discuss some really important parts of the show. And either they're connected to the piece by like Bleu was a part of the community conversation. We probably have him come on board. He doesn't know yet, but he probably will bring his ass up there and be a part of it. And maybe some of the writers, maybe some of the people we had on the podcast, but it's like a panel discussion about the play after the play. And we're gonna do it on Sunday because Sunday show is a little bit earlier than Fridays and Saturday nights. So come on, join us. It's a great conversation. We've been having this conversation in controlled environments for the past year, and that will be our first opportunity to have it completely open to the public. And we just wanted to create a safe space of conversations that wasn't filtered with a lot of anger or back and forth. And it really was us creating safe spaces for the men involved in this piece. Do you feel that kind of safety space in this? Theater is that anyway, but do you feel that in this piece? Both, and that's to Bleu and to Noah.
So the interesting thing, I was listening to Noah speak, and I remember when we were actually having the community conversation with those wonderful men. And what I liked about it was the diversity of the men in the room. These were all Black men, all from different walks of life, all sharing their unique experiences. And what was unique about the conversation was that every man was struggled with their definition of what masculinity, what manhood was. And I think in peace, that's what I'm really interested in seeing, is that complexity that men have to go through with being a man, especially Black men. Being a father, being a son, being an elder, being a community leader, surviving in a space that's not necessarily safe for you to survive in, and so and to see the evolution of that, to see this come to life, is something that I'm looking forward to seeing. I wanted to know, did you get that same feeling when you were, as you were immersed in learning the role and developing the characters? Was that something that they stressed? Was that something that was a key component in developing the play itself? Noah.
Y'all did such a good job with the writing or the conversation that converted into the script that it's already a pivotal element in it. And it was wording and subtext and themes and everything. So we've had conversations in the earlier workshop parts about what it means to be a man and masculinity, but it's not something that Troy had to stress because you did such a good job making it a part of what that script was. And I think in today's world, especially me as a young man, it is so important that we have this conversation. And again, that's why I said I'll have a better answer of what I want people to get away from this play later on. Being what I thought a man should be has caused me so much mental strife and depression and stress. And now, as I'm still learning, and I will always be a student and will always learn, the fact that I'm learning to let that societal construct BS go. Like, I shouldn't have to feel like I am perceived as weak or not a man if I cry or if I express to you how I'm feeling without being angry or giving you the silent treatment. Say, what you did right here makes me feel this way, like that. So just breaking down the the ideology of what masculinity is, especially in this growing society, is so important. Especially if somebody is working with youth, a teacher, something like that. It is pivotal.
It's interesting that you say it in that way, because today's topic is getting out our own way. And the more we're able to talk about this in today's society, we're getting more and more, one, conflicting points of view, and also kickback from non-Black males in terms of really nitpicking how we're choosing to speak out and how we're choosing to display our manhood in certain ways. And I don't think it's a conspiracy, but I definitely think that there is a lot of anger associated with now men having this space to feel. And what does that mean to manhood and masculinity and our women counterparts? What does that mean now that we have this space? Are we going to go too far? And now we're going to continue to talk about the play, but now is the controversial part of this conversation. And without all the bells and whistles, but we had the late Kevin Samuels. We now have Kanye being the center of controversy, as he, in many ways, to me, it seems like he's exploring his um, voice, and maybe he's not doing it in the right way, but however he's doing it is not coming across to people in such a good way. But in terms of the manhood side of that, how are how do we, and your both of you, how do we continue to push the envelope or push the agenda that we have to get this, we have to heal Black men, basically? How do we do that without the extremes of a Kanye or Kevin Samuels or other men that are taking the drastic route to identify and pronounce their manhood?
I think it's important that we understand that the Kevin Samuels and the Kanye West, they were created, you know, circumstances that they had to endure. And so I think that it's very important that that this is why this piece is really important, because there is a look at how these men evolved into the men that they become, the circumstances that they had to go through, that sometimes they it's always interesting that people don't know the backstory. They see the result of the backstory. So they assume
Behavior.
yeah, they assume that, you know, this is a result of X, Y, and Z, but they don't actually know the backstory. And even and they're also sometimes unwilling to hear it. You know, there is not because they don't want to hear it, but they really can't understand. It's almost like it's spoken in a different language, and so you have to. It's very important that that's something that is taken into consideration when we're having these conversations. And we're talking about, you know, Black men, especially Black men in America. You know what they have to endure, what they have endured, what these young men in this generation are dealing with. You know, it's not, it's unique because I didn't have to deal with that. You know, some of the things that they did, they don't have to deal with some of the things I had to deal with. You know, and that was something that came out in the conversation. That generational piece is very important. There was some aspects that they were looking at this generation, and there was some resentment because, you know, they didn't have some
Towards each other.
yeah, they didn't within amongst each other, because they didn't have to, like, this generation didn't have to endure what we had to do. They didn't have to fight those fights. They didn't have to see some of those traumas. But on the flip side, we don't experience some of the traumas that they are now experiencing as a result of a lack of conversation, a lack of follow-up, inactivity, you know, turning a blind eye, you know. And so that's the reason why this play was really important, because I think that sometimes when we see Black men, we kind of generalize and say they all this, they look like this, they all act like this, they all think. And when you have a piece like this, you see that, no, they don't all think like that. They don't have those, they don't all share those experiences. And then you say, oh, wait a minute, I need to take a step back and I really have to reevaluate how I'm judging this individual. And so that's why I say it's very important that we be mindful. You know, the Kevin Samuels and the Kanye West probably were not that way in the beginning. But as time progressed, as the world beat them up, as life beat them up, as circumstances beat them down, this is how they've evolved. And I think it's important that we remain vigilant of our young men and women, and that we understand that we create the monsters that we see in the movies. They're not just something that comes out that's not born. They are created. And the monsters in our communities, we've created those monsters. And so we have to take some responsibility, you know?
I say that all the time. I say we can't pretend that a lot of the things that we have right now were always what we had. So a lot of the behaviors or the outcomes that we see right now are a result of generations of, like you said, sweeping stuff under the rug, laughing stuff off, ignoring it, or, trying to beat it out of them or pray it out of it, or, pushing. It is building this play and being along the journey of how this play was built has been somewhat traumatizing to me. Not necessarily because it was all my story, but watching someone else struggle and watching other people get angry at a person's struggle is traumatizing to me. It really, I understand some of the stuff, a lot of the stuff, if not all the stuff that Kevin Samuels or Kanye has said hurts people.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like we're the only culture of people that get angry at other people's mental struggles. And it feels like we're angry at them. I think what's the lady that was in the Halloween movie? After he made the remarks about he made a general statement about Jewish people. She suggested that he get his children taken away from him. And it's so easy to combat the things that a Black man says, even when he's speaking out of anger or passion or resentment. It's so easy to villainize without, like you said, without knowing the backstory.
And I think that's important to even see that, that this person has, I think for years have been stating, this is what I need some assistance. Look, are you hearing me? Are you hearing me? Are you giving me the attention that I need? And we've been ignoring it. And so that you can see that on a smaller level. That just going to the school, and you have a young person that is struggling with the directions or how the school, the instructions in the classroom. And what do you see? You see it manifest itself in the behavior. They start to act out. And the thing is that they don't just swing on the person that is that is causing the issue. They swing on everybody. That anger is now directed in every direction, and they don't realize. And that's because that frustration. I've been saying that I needed some assistance, or I've been saying that I've been misunderstood, or I've been saying that I needed, that something is wrong, and no one's paid any true attention. And I think that's just something common with a lot of Black men. You think of it, Black men are like the bottom of the barrel. There's white men, there's white women, there's Black women, and then there's Black men. And now there is, there are subcultures above Black men. So it's like, how do you really address a Black man's needs? He has to, everyone else has been provided some assistance and support, but the Black man, he can't get housing without having a disability in order for it, because
or a criminal record.
Or a criminal record. And even with a criminal record, you have these programs that's developed to try to get them back into a community, but then they're always judged on the fact that they have a criminal record. So they never get those opportunities. And so then you wonder why they're on the corners, or you wonder why they're sticking people up, or you wonder why these things are happening. And it's, they want you to fit into this one box as if everyone can fit into that box. And it's not real and it's not fair. But that's what we as Black men are left to endure with. And I think that it's important that that's across the board. That's Black gay men, that's Black bisexual men, that's Black straight men. That's across the board. They all have that common theme of a struggle. There's going to be a struggle. And despite what it is that they're dealing with, whatever the backstory is, because they're a Black man in the United States of America, they're going to be dealing with those things. And that's why it was important that we had a story with multiple males, their perspectives, because it makes sense that these voices
what you said was that what was it? It's like a proverb, African proverb. The child that does not feel warmth from its village will burn down the whole village. And it's just that it pains me to see, and I don't want to make any of these conversations or this production about men versus women, or because that's not what the play is about. That's not what this conversation is about. But we all can have a space to have our voice heard. And I've said this in so many workshops I've been in, and places I've had to speak. Men typically get the help that we need after we're so far gone in one given circumstance. And typically, after a young man it used to be, 10 or 11 or well, 15, 16, but now it's getting younger and younger when people stop asking young men what they want to be. And they assume, based off their environment or their behavior, that they already are going to go in this direction. That's what the whole prison to school to prison pipeline is all about. If they have certain behaviors or issues going on, as young as kindergarten and pre-K, they are projecting that they're going to end up in a jail. That's why they can justify building baby bookings, style jails or facilities over new schools. But this play had, when I tell you, no, I wish you were able to take part in the community conversation of it all, because there were a lot of these types of topics that were being brought up in terms of your generation, that a lot of people, it's just a lot of gaps. And one of the conversations that I've been having with both Bleu and with Troy throughout all of this, there's a missing space of mentorship. At some point, our older generations took their hands off of us. My generation, Bleu's generation, and it just, by the time they got to your generation, Noah, it was already so distant. I didn't say mentorship just totally was gone, but it was for mentorship turned into only the children that were achieving a certain level already, versus the ones that really needed it. Not to say that just because they were achieving, they didn't have issues at home or self-esteem or whatever issues, but it's geared towards the student that looks like they're going to be the next Obama or the next Michael Jordan or the next, it's starting to be geared towards that. And now it's a competition amongst the generation that should be mentors and the generations that should be mentees. And as Black men, both of you, what has been the difficult part about becoming a man or learning what manhood is?
The most difficult part for me was the unlearning of being a man. And to go back to what you said about you did a quick disclaimer saying, this conversation shouldn't be attached to the show like we're doing like a man versus woman thing. And anybody who's thinking like that needs to watch out, because I feel like you need to come see it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the concept of what it means to be a man and Black men is kind of just in a state of emergency. When the concept of masculinity and sexuality is so twisted that you have a whole generation of folks that won't wash their ass a certain way because it'd be perceived gay. But I thought that was just cleanliness. I thought that was just I'm cleaning my body. But because the thinking and the teaching is so wrapped up and twisted, your underwear now has stains for the rest of your life because you're trapped in this box. So that thinking is a state of emergency. It's trivial. But just it's so deep that you don't clean yourself properly because your ideologies of what it means to be a
But
man.
remember the thought that came before that. I think we talked about this in the workshop portion. The idea of men don't sit down and use the restroom. Just something as trivial as that, and that defining what type of man you are.
Yeah.
Like, how do you? I never thought about the unlearning of a black man to become a black man. Like that's a.
If I would just stayed the same for who Noah was in middle school, I wouldn't be talking to y'all. Y'all wouldn't have to even associated with me. It'd be a completely different person. I had to unlearn what I was taught from middle school, from high school, from my young adults to my older 20s now. Like it's a constant. I think masculinity is flexibility, to be able to always evaluate and reevaluate where you are in the world.
But that's being human, because everybody else, other cultures, other sexes, have been allowed to be flexible, except for black men. No matter how you identify, you were told to be this. And many of us grew up in families with a bunch of men who were rarely there, or they were away at college. That's what I was taught. The penitentiary was, or Hagerstown was. That was college. But and like you said, even as you grow, you run into things where you have to unlearn it and then learn it in the moment of it.
I
Whether
think
it
that
be a different type of person. Go ahead, Blue.
no, I piggybacking off of what you were saying. I think it's really important in Noah. The fact that you said to unlearn it, where did we learn it from? Who did we learn it from? You know, the fun
was my friends, the people that I thought that was a man's man. Like that's a man. I want to be that man.
And what did that person look like? And so
a misogynistic asshole.
Exactly. So it's like the person that we were getting that accusations from was a person that looked like us. You get what I mean? The locker room conversations about sexuality, and you getting this bad information, and you go out here and you regurgitate the stuff, and then you wonder why you all jacked up in life. Why?
It pains me. It like really this is a sensitive subject for me, because that unlearning process is hard, because I'm not saying the three of us made it out, but I'm thinking about my family members and my friends who went the other way, who I pass in the street, or if I go to a family function or a fruit, and I see them and I see that they went polar opposite. And what could have been of that, not to say that we are perfect, but what could have been of that mind? Normally they were the most creative, the most talented, or the most intelligent, but because they believed that hype and they were never introduced to other possibilities that could help them to unlearn and relearn, they still 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old with that same mindset.
They passed away. They died and never learned. Like they've gone to the other life still.
And that's that you say that growth, that stunning of growth. Because that does, it stunts their growth. And so what happens is you have individuals that are trying to navigate life with the mindset of, a 13-year-old, or the mindset of a 7-year-old, but they're 40 and they still function emotionally as a 7-year-old. And you wonder why they throw temper tantrums. You wonder why they can't hold down a job. You wonder why they can't communicate effectively, because that stunts their growth. And this
keep a
is
relationship.
and that to me has been the biggest, like I think that's the biggest I can't even articulate what it is because I'm just like I'm in my emotions about it. But that's like the biggest disservice to Black men. Like the biggest thing that they've actually done to Black men has made it to the point where they can't grow, they can't evolve, and so they're ineffective. They're not even useful, to anyone
Yeah.
around them as a result of that conditioning. And that
And
unlearning
they
is so.
know it though, Blue. They know it. I sit and watch the Drink Champs, the last interview with Kanye. I watched that 3 times, all 3 parts, 3 times. And he said it. He said it was their plan. They made me out to be the monster. Now I'm gonna be the monster. So at
Right.
some point, they not only are aware of it, but they like, well, I'm the monster. I'm the hoe. I'm the gigolo. I'm the XYZ. I'm the pimp. I'm the no good nigga. I might as well live up to it. That
Absolutely.
it hurts. That hurts me in a
That
way that is unimaginable.
thing is, what hurts even more is that the people, you would think that it's the racist white man that's doing the tearing down. That's not the case. The
Mm-mm.
people tearing you down is looking just like you. The people that are tearing you down are in the same home as you. The people that are tearing you down is in the same church as you. The people that are tearing you down is in the classroom teaching you. So you can't, so it's, and this is, I'm not saying that that's not the experience of Black females, but I do know that for Black men, that is everyone. Black women are against Black men. Black men are against Black men. White women are against Black men. White men are against Black men. Puerto Rican women are against Black men. So when you're a hated person by everybody, that's a fucked up situation.
Especially when you yourself, especially when it's the man on man hating, like you know what this feels like to be created as a monster. And you put that on somebody without even knowing their backstory. It's criminal when we do it to each other, whether you're a man, woman, gay, straight. And I can only speak for people of color because that's all I've ever been in my life. But it's incredibly heart wrenching to have it done to you by people who know what that feels like. It is, and I'm not taking up for Kanye, but it's just something about this story because we keep watching it happen to one Black man after another. If it wasn't Alvin Iverson, it was Michael Jordan, it was Bill Cosby. You can go down the list of Black men who we put up here, then we pulled the rug from underneath of them. I just watched this episode from B Simone. She's on the Wild and Out show, and their topic was men being called great men, especially the ones that cheated. So they were taking the great title from them because they cheated. And she went down the list and she said Martin Luther King was a great leader and he was a great this, he was a great this, but he cheated on his wife. So he's not fucking great. And when I say I watch tons of podcasts and I like the atmosphere of conversation. And I'm watching all of these new podcasts pop up with women and they spend most of their time debating on the things that Black men don't do. So a white man just punched this Black lady in the face, but I didn't see any Black men jump in. This white woman cussed this Black woman out, but I didn't see the Black man jump in and save her. And it's no matter what the problem is, who's doing it, you can always tie it back to a Black man not doing something. And I hate that. I hate these conversations. I really hate them. I hate that we're having this conversation or have to have it. But it feels incredibly like I feel like I'm in a box. And I used to say that it started with the Me Too movement, but I've always felt like that because I've gotten to hear, I was the safe friend. I was the friend that you could talk about other Black men about. And it was weird to hear the conversations because at some point I realized I was included in that group of men you were talking about. And that's when it was like, oh, you talking about me too. Like I'm included. and it became hurtful. And that's why I think this play, unlike many of the other plays, because we've had plays like this for colored men. It's a couple other plays that just got off Broadway. Strange Loop, that talks about the male story. You have August Wilson, who spent his whole career writing from a Black male's perspective about other Black men, but it just still doesn't feel like it's enough conversation around how do we create safe spaces for men for them to heal. So you don't have these ancient men running rampant in the world anymore, because it feels like the same women who complain about the ancient men raise ancient men and then send them out into the community with other people who complain about them being ancient, and then it just keeps going around in a cycle.
Well, because think about the rationale as to why they create those type of men. It's a control thing. You know, if you control me, if you have to depend on me for everything, then I can always control you. You'll always be subjective to me. And so that's why you see women are in a, you go down to a courthouse and you see, he had child support because he didn't want to be with me. He had a child. Now, not saying that he's a bad father, not saying that he's not providing, but because you don't want to be with me, then I want to punish you and make it. This is how I'm gonna punish you. And so they've weaponized the judicial system against Black men for every little thing, and so now and so that's a part of the grand scheme. And so, like I said, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't.
And they've done such a great job at it that they've taught men how to do the same thing to women or to other people. Now you have a whole slew of men who are now learning those same measures and using it against mothers and taking their children away from them.
Well, but I think that's because of the rationale for that is because of situations like the Kevin Samuels and Kanye West. I've gotten so frustrated that now I have to figure out how I can fight back. And the only way that they're fighting back is I'm gonna do the same thing that you're doing to me.
Yep.
I'm gonna swing on you. So now you're seeing back in the day when men did not like you. I know in my generation, you weren't supposed to hit a female. That was something that was kind of like, no, men don't.
What generation did you grow up in?
I grew up in a chivalrous generation. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't do it.
Wow. Well, you must be, what, you about 200 years old?
But I still look beautiful, honey. Still look beautiful. Still a lady of the night. So no, I was saying that don't look like that, Noah. So
I didn't warn either of you about the other one. So just put it on me. Blame me.
I'm looking at this hip hop. I'm like loving hip hop and those episodes where the men are just swinging. They are fighting back at they're dragging the girls. They taking them out down steps. They throwing water on them. They do not care no longer. It's like you see the frustration.
I ask you again, who raised you? Because I knew men like that growing up. That would slap the shit out of a woman.
Not me, no. That was not something that was common. And
you need to bottle your childhood and sell that shit. Because
no.
I'm just saying.
Accept it. You do not hit no female.
I watch men beat their wives or their girlfriends.
But that's interesting. But you're not in my generation. You're the generation.
I tell people that all the time. Now you're admitting it. You heard that, Monty?
My generation. Well, no, that lets me know that my generation did your generation a disservice.
Well, that's what I said. The closer, so by the time we get to Noah, who's in his 20s, it's a total. I one of the writers of this play, Sheila Gaskins, we grew closer because I was fascinated with the Baltimore that you speak of, that she speak of. And she spoke of like this neighborly feeling and, people looking out for each other and protecting each other. And I was like, damn, where did was that this, at 1980, did that just like, fuck that, stop.
But see, that's crazy. Because my generation, we had that. We could leave the door open at night. Like in the summertime, we could sleep out on the porch. That was a thing. But I wish the hell you would try to leave your door open at night around nowadays. Not only will the raccoons be inside your house, but everybody in the neighborhood be shagging with you and everything. So that's not a common thing.
I lock my door, and 10 minutes later, I go back to make sure I lock the fucking door. And then I wake up out of my seat. Did I lock that door? Let me go downstairs and make sure I lock that door.
Let me tell you, shit. I even look under the bed, and it's not for Jason or Michael Myers or Freddy. I just like make sure that my shit don't have nobody that's not supposed to be in here.
Well, that's your special neighborhood. That shit is your neighborhood. But I when I was thinking about today's show and how real really these shows for me have been over the last couple years, because I've felt like being more honest about what I'm feeling. And sometimes it feels like a ramble. That's why I needed to have guests, because I don't want a soapbox production going on. But it really, these conversations, you would think that we don't need to keep having them. And then I meet somebody in their 20s and realize, damn. Or I get into an argument with a parent, and she tell me my way of being a teacher is disrespectful, and I'm too, what did she say? I was too aggressive with her daughter by telling her daughter to keep her feet on the ground because her father doesn't talk to her like that. So that's why she feels the need to put her feet on people whenever she feel like it, because her father doesn't talk to her like that. And I'm not saying beat a child or abuse a child, but at some point, and I hear people saying this, you have to let a man be a man, but you have to show him what that is first. Because when you start letting him be a man and he's slapping the shit out of people.
But see, I'm always careful about that, because what happens is people teach from their own experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And they may be teaching that toxicity, they may be teaching those behaviors that become problematic at some point, you know?
Right.
And so it is, I always teach from a perspective of how it is, does it harm you? Is there a potential of harm, either to you or to anyone else? And I think that what we don't really take into consideration is a lot of young men deal with a lot of internal conflicts. So there are what they've been taught, where their moral compass is versus what they've experienced in their environment. And so it's a conflict. I know that it's not right for me to go up to somebody and punch them in the face and scare their shit. However, in my community, that is a rite of passage. All of the men in my neighborhood do that. You're not seen as part of the group. You're not seen as a part of the collective if you stand out. And then that puts you on a position where you may be targeted because you're not like everyone else. So then that whole idea of being unique is being like, I was taught that it's okay to be unique, but then I'm conditioned to be a collectivist. You get what I mean? Like, I got to be a part of the group in order to be accepted. So that's why you see all of the guys doing the same shit. No one wants to be unique. Everybody wants to have their ass hanging out, and everybody want to talk and mumble talk. You know, once one rapper start mumbling, then the other rapper, then no one wants to be articulate. No one wants to read the dictionary no more. No one wants to get a little deeper, because that's
a dictionary. Bitch, I got Google. What I need a dictionary for?
But they don't. But if you got stuff you looking up on Google. You can't
I don't even have to. I don't even know. I don't even know how to spell it. All I gotta do is push the microphone and say what it is that I want.
Trying to spell it phonetically, and you got that wrong. You know, like, shit. So,
Hooked on phonics is no longer a thing.
It's not.
It is a thing. I heard commercials recently. It's still a thing.
Hooked on phonics.
Yes, and that's because
more speech. That's more speech driven. Hooked on phonics wasn't meant to help you learn how to read. It was to help you to speak. To clearly speak, because the Negroes wasn't clearly speaking the English language. It is just, I don't know how else to have this conversation. The way that we initiated this production was bringing. I had an idea to bring a few guys together, and I had a long list, and I whittled that down because I didn't feel like certain people's temperaments would match or mix together well, which is unfortunate because some people who really needed this conversation, I had to sit them out until we were strong enough as a unit to be able to bring people or fold people into the conversation. And even throughout this process, we've come across young men, older men who need this. Like, not just to sit down and come see a play, but to be engulfed in the conversation for their forward moving needs. As Black men, what do you need? Like, as a Black man, thinking about who you are today, being completely honest with yourself, what are your needs?
I'm gonna say what Jay-Z said. I need the space to say whatever I like. Wait a minute. I need the space. I need that safe space. I need the space to yell. I need the space to scream. I need the space to cry. I need the space to laugh. I need the space to learn and the freedom. Do all that without stigma, without pointing, without you're not being this or that. I want the space, all the constructs out the way where I can be my authentic, where I can first have the space to break down all the society shit so I can introduce myself to my authentic self. And then once I get that introduction,
what will that do for you though? Because I think we're in a space right now where people are finding those spaces, and some of them ain't even finding the spaces. They just doing it from wherever they at. But what would that help having that space? Because you can't stay in that safe space forever.
Absolutely.
Having that safe space to be able to come and go as you need, but how does that affect and then what?
It should, if this space is as magical as I imagined it in my mind, it would clear up book in my mind that I can add new adventures for. I feel like if I have this space where I can yell and scream and get all that internal mental shit that I was holding in there, that was holding up creative and mental and emotional space, now since that is clear up, now I feel like I might pick up a new hobby. I might find that I do enjoy to read novels, or I do enjoy to go to the beach and travel, or to create, or to direct, or engineer, or teach. I'm again discovering who I am because I have burnt the trash out my soul. I have emptied the recycling bin for more stuff to be put in. That is what I'm thinking.
I think for Black men to truly get the assistance that I think what's needed for Black men, let me rephrase that, is them to disconnect from
No,
that.
that wasn't the question, Blue. I
Why?
said, what do you need?
Oh, so I'm saying that, and what I'm about to respond to, yeah, it's going to be everything. So what I'm saying is that to be able to disconnect from the matrix of life, everything that we have nowadays is so instant. Everything is instant gratification, that we have forgotten how to do it with our own hands, how to stand on our own feet, how to navigate life in a way in which we actually are using ourselves to better ourselves. And so we become codependent, we've handicapped ourselves. And even with, I know that for me, I'm not, I'm aging myself, but I had a rotary phone. There were, yes, you don't make that fucking face. But anyway, I had a rotary phone before there was touch tone phones. I remember before 911 was 911, I remember the original police number. So yeah, that's before it was 410 and 443, and it was only just 7 digits to dial a phone number. Yeah. So I'm back in that generation. And when I say that, I say that to say that even though we have technology, technology has crippled us.
Sexy though.
That is refined. That is not old. But yeah,
again, because where we are in community right now, the younger generations feel that the older generations aren't relevant anymore. A rotary phone isn't relevant anymore. But we can't just keep replacing stuff when we get bored with it.
Well, I think the reason why it's important is because when those things fail you, what do you depend on? And if you don't have that ability to do it, then what? So if you don't have a computer to do your resume for you, then how do you do it? If you don't have a calculator to do the math for you, then how do you do it? And that's where they handicap you. If you don't have a computer for you, then how do you comprehend? You get what I'm saying? And so it's important that we
Is that a
disconnect.
going off?
No, that wasn't. That was my beeper. And someone died. And let me tell you, that was my beeper telling me that somebody was trying to get in contact with me. And they dialed, instead of it being a text message, they used the numbers. And then I got to turn my pager upside down so I could read them say hello. They said hello to me. You know what I'm saying?
Hello.
Yeah, that's what it
but
was.
I think a lot of, so this conversation has so many different arms and tentacles to it. You know, there's a point where you have to bring in the women. There's a point that you have to bring in the elders in general. There's a point that you have to bring in other cultures. There's a point where you have to bring in the different types of Black men, you know, to even continue to, because it's not a quick fix. Because there's so many different things that made Noah and Bleu and Nate who we are, you know, and everybody has a different combination of what do you bring into the conversation. You know,
but I think that before we bring those individuals in, again, we have to be careful that they themselves have done the self-work and that they're operating in it. It does not harm. Because I think what happens is that we've had those elders talk to our young men before, but they talked and what they poured into them was harmful stuff. We've had women talk to young men and young women before, and what they've poured into them is harmful stuff. And so what happens is they teach from their hurt. And so then they teach how to hurt others. And that is not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is heal. So you have to teach from whatever you're teaching, it should not harm you. It should not harm you, and you should not be doing self-harm as a result of it. And I think that is the missing component in a lot of the stuff that we do. We teach from a vindictive perspective. We want to, because I'm hurt now, the world around me has to hurt. Because no one listened to me, now fuck the world around me. And that's not how you elevate yourself. That's not how you progress forward. And what happens is that when you don't learn how to heal, when you don't take the time out to heal, you only perpetuate that in the next generation. You pass that hurt on. Not only is it done through how we teach, but it's even done in our biology, to the point where we pass on our genetic defects. So people are predisposed to the illnesses because we didn't know how to take care of ourselves. You know what I mean? And that's deep. That's fucking deep.
It's also, we're in a space where people are, once you are too far gone in any given personality or disorder, or it's almost like you learn how to cope with it. I mean, the world that we in right now, medication does not cure you. It maintains who you are and what's wrong with you. And I don't know why. Like the other day, I posted a photo of Kanye, and I preface it by saying, if you don't have a prayer or you don't have something encouraging to say at this photo, don't put anything. And what was weird, typically that type of photo brings out all of those things. Nobody said anything. And I'm sure they just followed the direction but I'm not here. Don't fight me on this.
And I
When
think that,
you can't just keep throwing each other away when I'm bored with you or you don't serve my purpose. Because when that man got up and said Bush don't care for black people, we were all for it because it matched our narrative. But the moment all his whatever's going on with him came out in every different direction, I'm gonna embrace those people who embrace me. And sometimes those people aren't the best people for me. It's the reason people get into gangs. It's the reason that our gay youth are in houses because somebody who was put there to nurture me or be responsible for me or accountable was not doing their job.
and I think that because we have this one trick wonder mindset where everything has to work under this one mindset that this works for everyone, and it doesn't.
Mm-mm.
What
Right.
works for you may not work for me, and I always
Mm-hmm.
look at it as is that it's about keeping your
Mm.
garden up. I think that what happens is that a lot of people don't know anything about gardening, but when weeds get in, they become very resistant if you don't consistently pay attention to the
Yeah.
garden. You have to go out there on a consistent basis and make sure that those weeds don't get in because guess what? Once they get in, they start taking hold. You can go
Mm.
out there as much as you want to. They're going to keep coming back. You have to
Right.
pay consistent attention to how you're raising the young people around you, what they're being taught, who's teaching them, and they have several teachers. You're not being taught just by your parents. You're being taught by the social media. You're being taught by teachers. You're being taught by your peers. And what they're teaching is from their perspective, from their experiences. And you don't know how jacked up their life is, and that's what they're taking on. And it's unfortunate that again, black men is at such a disadvantage that everyone has like everything is stacked against them to the point where they've lost hope in themselves. I think the biggest disservice to black men is that they don't believe that they are capable of even standing against some of the obstacles that's placed before them. They don't believe that they are as strong or as capable as they actually are because they've lost all of that hope.
Well, and
And I
some of
think
them
that,
never even had it. So,
well,
and
and I
and
think that
me
that's the
now
problem.
being in the elementary school phase, because Blue, you're getting them at middle school, high school.
I'm getting them
Noah,
as
you were
adults. The
as
population that
adults.
the population that I work with is individuals that are struggling with substance use.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and they're still struggling with using illicit substances.
Because they're just
And
trying to numb whatever that pain is, and now they've
exactly,
grown accustomed to doing it.
exactly. And so it's like when you think of that, you think, well, damn, this person has been dealing with this for 40 years. You get what I'm saying? That to me says a lot. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's not just in this generation, that's in all of the generations. You get what
Right.
I'm saying? So it's like when you think about it, like, damn, that's my grandmother's age, that's my great grandmother's age, and you mean to tell me you still have you're still struggling with substance use? What kind of stuff was going on then? So that lets you know that it's not just in this, it's stuff that we've left unresolved for decades. And at some point we have to stop marching and we have to stop talking and start actually doing something. Like really getting our hands dirty. Because I think that those talks and that's good. Those are good, but we have to put it into real action. We have to actually do some work.
And figure out what the
We have
problems
to go
are.
again, and we have to stop looking for saviors outside of our race. Their construct doesn't match ours. The psychology doesn't incorporate and doesn't include Black people. So stop using it. You weren't a part of those researches. You weren't a part of that.
Yeah.
Stop using it. You get what I mean? That it doesn't. It didn't include us. So we need to start to recreate stuff that is benefiting us because what's happening is we're getting fucked up. We're
Mm-hmm.
losing.
Yeah.
Nate, Blue, I have to step away, but I would like to make my closing statement. So let me plug it in. Please, for everybody who's first of all, Nate, thank you so much for bringing me on here. I always have fun at the Artist Exchange Radio. Please get your tickets for You Thought I Was Him. It's going to be at the Arena Players. It is a joint production between Troy Burton and the Arena Players, opening November 11th and running 3 weekends. So please, please, please come out and get your tickets. Bleu, it doesn't matter how old you are, you still look sexy. You killing these hoes.
No, don't do that.
I want to piggyback off of this last statement, Bleu. You said that we have to break ourselves out the matrix. If you've seen, because they just made a new Matrix film, Matrix Resurrection, and the concept with that is even when you break yourself out, you always have to be aware because you can slide back in so easily. Now you broke yourself out of one matrix and you put yourself in a new one. It's a constant.
Mhm.
That's why I said staying flexible, always being aware, always staying sensitive to what's around you. And that's for me, as far as life, as far as acting, I always want to be a student. I always want to be learning, unlearning, and relearning because I feel like the day that I stop should be the day that I die. I love you, you sexy bitches. Goodbye.
Oh my goodness. Bye, Noah.
But I think the conversation is so valuable. It is so necessary and needed. It's so oh, we're just in a space where and I knowing who I am, there has to be a fire because I would not talk about this like this. I would not bring it up if it was not just in my life, but I'm watching my friends, I'm watching my family members, I'm watching people just in the community um, suffer from identity issues. One of these days, we're going to be able to have a real conversation on dating and the struggles of it.
Oh
I
no.
can discuss my personal, no, just because it's needed. It is how we relate to each other on various levels is under fire. Like it's not even a smoke, it's on fire. Like even being in a romantic relationship with somebody is a struggle because one of us can't be who we really want to be, and the other one is trying hard to deal with that as they are abusing themselves and blocking the blows from this toxic person that I've fallen in love with. And that says a lot. That's a big statement. But in
Nate,
our go ahead.
I'm gonna tell you something. First of all, that conversation has to be a two-part. So it's gonna have to probably be 3 Fridays. There's definitely gonna have to be some cocktails. Honey, look, I got my drink with me too. You got 2 bottles. Yes, we're gonna have some drinks. Because that's gonna be
I got the wait a
and
minute,
let
I
me
got
tell
the
you
brown
something.
stuff.
It is hard for a bitch like myself. Yes, that, yes, all of those. And you
But I'm
got any
coming.
more? You have any more drinks? You need some more. Where's the tequila? There has to
I
be
got
some tequila.
I got the shorty. Wait a minute. I think this is Casamigos. So it's a
Yes,
Rhode Island.
we
This
need
is
some of those
California
drinks.
vanilla.
Only because that is a conversation that needs, I
No
mean,
chasers.
no chasers. That is going to be a waiting to exhale moment. It's difficult dealing with men, especially men loving men, because men, they only think with their penises and they can't think outside of that. And when you try to invest and do a lot more beyond the penis, it is almost as if, it's almost as if you're talking a foreign language.
Was that Monty? Did he have a word, a message?
I hope he ain't telling us that we gotta go, because we just
We still
got
got a
here.
couple minutes.
We
We
just
got a
got
couple
here.
minutes. We got a couple minutes left. I'm just And most people don't know me because I've, for my life, have kept things. What do you say? No, wait, so y'all pull out the drinks when I leave.
Because we don't want to be seen as corrupting you.
Right,
I don't
but
think you ready. I don't think he's ready for inebriated Bleu.
he not. Oh no, he not. He not. He not. Pay LaBelle songs and whatnot. But they, but it's a conversation that's necessary, that's needed, and it's not just on a romantic front. It's with friendships. We're in a space of time where people are more comfortable shaking their dicks on Twitter and TikTok, and friendships have to be with people that I'm sexually attracted to. The people the information that I receive has to be somebody that I want to have sex with, for me to
Because he
listen.
created a new addiction,
Right. Like
and
the
that's
people
called
that I put
attention.
my faith in have to be rich and wealthy and out of my reach for me to listen to. Like it is a space where, I grew up feeling certain types of way, and we're definitely, but I'm gonna need Blue's attention in order to make that conversation as
And people don't
coherent.
realize they
Because I don't
realize
want to
that
be the angry person.
you can get more with less. I think
Mhm.
that that's again, get the drinks ready. I might have to come in the studio. We may have to just do it from where Marty at. We got to do it in the studio. We can't do this type of situation, Marty. We just got to go back into sitting in a room with our drinks right there and having a real conversation because we gonna go in. And I don't want Marty to be coming in there bleeping out words and shit. I want it to be raw, Marty. Raw.
Well,
You
I'm
know,
gonna censor Monty is definitely don't care about censorship. That's not. He's
good,
actually against censorship.
good.
I
But
want to
yeah,
speak for you, Monty, but if the Monty that I remember is against censorship.
well, see, I'm glad of that. So when we have that conversation, we can set up in your living room, baby. Bring it on. We can come
It is,
together and
but it's necessary. It's so needed. It's so necessary. Because I think we're only doing more damage. And even in my relationships, I am learning. I have to show up for me, and in me showing up for me, I've I've had to push other things that don't serve me anymore out.
and for some
And a lot
strange
of that
reason,
stems from my male identity and the lack thereof around me, or that was consistent in my life. And even now, I'm starting to, and a lot of this stemmed from a conversation that another podcast I was watching, where women were being accused of putting their female traits on their male sons. And I think I sent that to you, and the effects of that. But if ain't nobody else fucking around, who will be there? Do the mothers have to leave the child too? Are we just will have a bunch of orphans in the world? But I think it's a conversation that's necessary, that's needed. And if you saw, I shared the link to the press release on the YouTube and the Facebook.
mm-hmm.
And I want people to really go through it and see what this show has been about. Um, oh, it's just heartbreaking to me that we're now in another space and another decade. We're in now another decade, and we're taking a lot of that toxic behavior, and it's getting worse. It's
It
getting
is.
worse. Um,
It is.
I'm watching young men on an elementary school level uh, present toxic behavior at their age. Where
Yes.
children used to pick up on stuff, but they're presenting it. My last day at the previous school that I was just at, I sit down one of the young men who I think is having some identity issues as a fifth grader. and which is sad because he should be thinking about cartoons and superheroes and colors and things of that nature, not his identity.
But you know
Not
what?
go ahead.
If I can interject, I think
Go
that
ahead.
it is really important that I think adults have messed up children with their own jacked up stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I think if you allow young people to be imaginative, and you definitely want to put safety precautions in place. But childhood is about imaginative. Childhood is about exploration. Childhood is about learning the world and exploring the world around you. And yeah,
Hmm.
you want to teach them, but again, you want to teach them from a space where it's not harming. And I think that all the adults teach from such a hurtful space. I'm just going to keep drilling that. They teach, I just hear it so often that people talk from such a hurtful space that
Hmm.
even the educated individuals, the people that are supposed to be the disciplinarians in their whatever it is, their careers, these individuals that's supposed to be the know-it-alls and all of that stuff, they teach from such a hurtful space. And it's like you wonder why people respond the way that they respond. And
Hmm.
even with relationships, how is it that you are trying to develop and build a relationship with someone when you can't build a relationship with yourself, when you don't even like the person you see in a mirror,
Right.
when you're conflicted about how you love, who you love, why you love. Actually, you may not even know that you know how to love because the love that you've been presented with is all jacked up.
Yeah. But
That
you
and
assume,
you
but
want
the
and you want
assumption
to know
is
why and you want to know why you can't have and maintain a relationship for more than a month, for more
right.
than two. It's
And
because
it,
you broke.
but it's also we're at a space where um once you become an adult, the assumption is you know better. The assumption is you know better. And I don't know why. I know this young man, I'm speaking of Kanye, I know his ears be burning. Because I still go into the YouTube rabbit hole of interviews he's done, and I'm speaking out loud to, the screen or TV, and it really does. It bothers me how angry people are at him right now.
Well, it would be you who would identify he is a Gemini.
But I think and when I realized that, I did not realize it, but you ignore a person because over the years people have been saying, "Man, shut up, Kanye, just go back and create some more music." So that's what he did. But
But
the problems didn't go anywhere. So every time they resurface, they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because you taught him how not to deal with it and to
right,
put it into his work. Now his work has become just as destructive as his thoughts outside of that was. And it's just a weird space to be in. It's weird. It is it's just weird. And I don't want to be in that anymore. Um
hmm
and as a black man, I'm in a space where I just need for it to happen. Like Noah was saying, we need to have it. Um, we need to have that space to be able to have the conversation, if nothing else, just so we
right,
understand and we can surface the problems that we're going through.
right.
Um, so that's the gist of what I want to talk about. But at some point before the end of the year, because we got like one more month of shows left, um, where we just have to get that conversation out. And I'll tell you why later, but yeah, it needs to happen
Okay.
now. So again, this has been the Artist Exchange Radio Show. Please, 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 please get your ticket to the You Thought I Was Him project. It is a year-long project of a world premiere of production that is for men, partially by men, represented by mostly men. And shout out to the women, Tracy Diggins, Jackie Terry, Sheila Gaskins, that have been the balance that is necessary in this piece. Shout out to
Hey, y'all.
Easy Jackson, Derek Watkins, Troy, Lauren, Lonnie, Franklin, DDM, who else? Me, Blue, Derek, a host of other people. Please come on out to this play. We have a special presentation that will be happening at opening night, and as well as I was about to say an open mic, a conversation, a talk back with a number of the people contributing to this piece that Sunday of opening night at the Arena Playhouse, 801 McCullough Street. You can go to TicketBud and look up Arena Playhouse. You Thought I Was Him, and you'll get your tickets. Come on out and support. And we'll be back next week. I'll have 2 more actors join us next week, and Troy will be joining us shortly as well. So peace out, people. Next up is the Skyline Radio Show. I see Mr. Mark and his lace front beard in the waiting room. So we're not gonna pause his show anymore. I'm gonna milk my 2 minutes. And but peace out, people. Anything you wanted? Anything coming up, Blue?
This was the Artist Exchange at Be Exposed Radio. You can join me and my co-host Nate Couser next week. He's been holding it down for a long time since I've been, dealing with so many things. And I really do appreciate him and all that he does. Nate, you're a wonderful co-host. I want you to keep up the good work. I've groomed you to be wonderful. When I'm not here, you know how to take over when I'm,
what narcissism looks like. If y'all was ever thinking about it. But peace out. Peace out, people.
I'm gonna call you, okay?
Call you, Blue, so answer your phone.
All right.